What's up, y'all? It's your boy Al. Um, been talking to a lot of people in passing, just in general, um, about Floyd and his passing. And one of the questions that I've been getting, I've been discussing with a few people, is why him? What I mean by that is, why is what happened to him? Why is what happened to him the moment that it all began to come to the forefront? Why is it that when he was killed, marches all over the world broke out, protests all over the world broke out? After all, we'd seen more than 20 black men and women, boys and girls have their lives taken on video and what have you. So what was so different about what happened to Big Floyd that brought about such response, such outrage? You gotta think about it. After Floyd was killed, it was changing. Radio stations were totally dedicating their days to just black music, black empowering music. I was on Apple Music. I'm on Apple Music, and the day of the blackout, the day that happened, they shut down their entire streaming services, stations, and playlists, and only played one playlist all day full of nothing but Fight the Power, F the Police, Mr. Nigga by Mos Def. Just a lot of music that spoke to police brutality and racial relations. And it was all day long. And that was all sparked by what happened to Floyd. And so the question that I've been getting is, why is it that what happened to him, not what happened to all the people we've seen in the past? We've heard of, Trayvon Martin, Philando Castile, who was videoed. What happened to him was on camera. None of those deaths sparked the outrage that was ignited with the video of Big Floyd. And I was talking to my wife a little bit about this and a few other people. And what I see that happened with the Floyd video that didn't happen with any of the other videos was that there was nothing you could point to on that video that would even give you the notion that what happened was justified. That's the first thing. I mean, the unfortunate reality is there's probably nothing on a lot of the videos that we've seen of black being brutalized by police that you can justify. But what happens on a lot of those videos is are caught in the middle, right? And so you always have those protagonists that say, well, we don't know what happened, at the beginning of the video. All we saw was the end, or all we saw was the beginning. We don't know what happened at the end to cause the gunshots to ring out. We don't know this, we don't know that. A lot of the videos that we've seen, they're grainy, they move around a lot. The only one that, I was kind of surprised didn't spark this kind of outrage was the Philando Castile video, because he was shot and killed right in front of his kid, and you could see the life seeping out of him. But what this Floyd video did, it was such a gruesome, and I still haven't watched the whole thing. I can only watch bits and pieces of it, but it was so gruesome in the manner that it happened. Generally, you hear people say, well, the police had to do this, or the police were doing this, or they had to have a knee here, or they had to grab him because you could see him fighting and wrestling. But there was nothing in that video that you can see that justified them having to do that. You can't find anything in the video where you can say, okay, I see why they are doing this, because he's wrestling or he's kicking or he's trying to get up. Or there's nothing. This video left no excuses, and I heard a lot of people allude to that. I heard a lot of white women allude to that. Like, watching this video, they've seen other things in the past and don't really know what's happening, the whole backstory. But watching this video, there is no excuse that can be made for what happened to him. Like, none. The second thing about this video and why it sparked such outrage is, and it kind of ties into a little bit what I was saying about earlier about the footage. Even with the Ahmaud Arbery, the footage, he's wrestling with the guys 1 minute, he's off camera, he's back on camera, you see the shot, you see him go down, the video stops, the camera's kind of all over the place. And even though you see him have his life taken, and I believe that what happened to Ahmaud Arbery and a couple other deaths, that Breonna Taylor, they all culminated into what happened with Floyd. But what happened, the second thing that I want to get to about the Floyd video is, it was a straight video from beginning to end, where you see a man on the ground with a knee on his neck, with a smirking cop, and it's just right in front of your face. You hear him crying out, you hear him screaming for his mama, you hear him saying, "I can't breathe." And it's just right in our faces. There's no, you don't have to wonder about what you're seeing. You don't have to wonder about what's going on in the footage. You see it plain as day. And having to watch a life being taken will reveal who you are as a person. Having to watch a person go from alive and well to dying right before your eyes will change you as a person. I remember when I was in Corpus Christi, and it was an unfortunate incident. The company I was working for, someone was killed on the job. They died on the job. Something fell on them, and one of the other people who was an employee was right there to watch it happen. And I remember that dude before that happened. He was a hard guy, you know, pretty sturdy guy, pretty hard guy. Nothing really rattled him, nothing really shook him. But after he had to watch a man die, like right before his eyes, he was in pieces. He was pieces of a man. He was a shell of his former self. I remember when they came to interview him and ask him to describe to them what happened, he couldn't get through it without breaking down. Every time he would try to describe what happened, he would literally just fall to pieces, because there's something about watching a life being taken right before your eyes that will reveal who you are. Having to watch this man's life taken for almost 9 minutes, for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, you go from watching a man who's alive, who's talking, who's communicating, and then in the same footage, 8 minutes and 46 seconds of footage, you watch him go from that to dead. Not on the way to the hospital to be revived or to try to save his life. People literally watched this man. See, a lot of the tapes, you watch somebody go down and they're still alive, and they take them to the hospital. On the way to the hospital, they die. Or they die on the table trying to be revived. But you literally had the unfortunate privilege of watching a man die right before your very eyes. And when you think you're the hardest person in the world, seeing something like that will define who you are. It will define you as a person. People watched a man's life taken right before their eyes. Black people, white people, young people, old people, Hispanic people, Asian people, British people, people in Africa, people in Australia, watched a man's go from alive to dead right before their eyes, slowly have the life seeped from him right before their eyes. And a lot of people who thought that they would watch that and be okay, they were not. Because what they discovered about themselves was that they had more heart and compassion than they ever could have imagined that they would have for someone they never knew, for someone they never met. I remember watching footage of Floyd's memorial service, the viewing. And I remember watching, and I knew him since I was 14 years old. I watched people who never met him walk up to the casket and just break down crying, fall to pieces. And they did that not because they knew him or anything like that, but they did it because they literally watched this man's life taken from him in a slow, torturistic manner. They watched this man go from alive to dead. Right before everybody who I've seen who watched it, they've been changed, which is why I won't watch it. People who didn't even know him says their lives were changed watching it. And I knew him, so I know that watching that would affect me greatly. But having to watch someone's life taken from you slowly, not a gunshot and they're over and you don't really know what's going on, but to watch them just laid on the ground in front of you and basically tortured to death before your eyes will mess you up. It's one of the reasons why they no longer do electrocutions. A lot of people will leave those electrocutions messed up. This man was tortured right before the eyes of the world. And it messed people up. Young girls who thought, I'll check this video out and see what happened. And by the time the video was over, they were in pieces because they did not know the effects of watching someone's life taken right in front of you. People were going up to the casket at the viewing just in pieces. I watched little girls, grown men, old women, old men just walk up to the casket and they just broke down crying because they remember the video and how it affected them watching his life taken from him in that manner. Not to say that what happened to Fernando Castillo and others didn't have an effect, but those events were more in the blink of an eye. You're watching a man on the ground pleading for 9 minutes, and you watch him go from alive to dead, picked up and have a dead body put on a gurney and carried off. That messed people up. People were not ready for that. They thought they were, but they were not. And I don't care if you're the most unattached white person in the world. I watched people make videos expressing their outrage who were totally detached from the everyday ideals of police brutality amongst blacks, but they were woken. They were awakened by what they saw, because what they saw had an effect on them that they didn't think what it would have. And the third reason why the video of Floyd has sparked such outrage and sparked the whole world to protest is because of what I call the Selma theory. You know about the Selma March. It had been said, written about, talked about, and videoed in bits and pieces of the police brutality and the racism in the South at the time of Dr. King. It had been documented, it had been written about, it had been talked about, it had been videoed briefly in bits and pieces, all the things that went on in the South. And the world was starting to get the news, and it was starting to spread all around the world of what was happening to blacks. But it didn't really resonate. It resonated when the entire world's news force came to Selma on live TV, put peaceful black people marching across a bridge and watching them being brutally beaten by police officers on live TV that made the rest of the world go, oh, so it is true about what they're doing to blacks down in the South. Because people had only heard and seen bits and pieces. And when you hear of certain things, what I've learned is when people of white people or people who are not black, they hear about certain things concerning black people, their first response is to go, nah, it can't be that bad. Like, come on. It can't be that bad. Like that's just too hard to believe. My wife tells me about I think she said she had a teacher or a coworker, I can't remember, it's either teacher or coworker, who tried to convince her class that all of the gruesome things that happened during slavery couldn't have happened. She was of Latin descent. She wasn't white, she wasn't black, she was Hispanic, and she just couldn't in her mind imagine that one group of people could treat another group of people that badly, and she just couldn't believe it. And that's basically the history of brutality towards blacks. When you try to put it in the ears of others, they're like, nah, that can't be happening. That can't be true. And that was the case with Jim Crow in the South. People heard about it, it's like, I know it may be a little bad, but it can't possibly be that bad. But when they saw on national and worldwide TV what happened on that bridge in Selma, they said, oh wow, this is real. And that is what sparked the change in the civil rights movement. People seeing what happened on that bridge to those black people for no reason other than they were marching, and the police attacked them with the cameras rolling, is what made people say, wow, we got to do something. We got to get involved. Because if the police will do this with the cameras rolling, what do they do when they're off? I mean, you would have thought that with the cameras rolling and the whole world watching, that police officers would have said, okay, the cameras are on, the world's watching. Let's not give them anything to talk about. Let's just stand our ground. Let's not, embarrass ourselves here. But they didn't give a damn. Cameras rolling or not, they went in on these black people with the whole world watching. And the world said, well, if y'all do this with us watching, what do y'all do to these people when we're not watching? And what happened to Floyd was basically 2020 Selma footage. It was 2020 Selma footage, because this man, with cameras rolling, recording him, had his knee on this man's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, with another cop standing there watching him do it and standing guard to keep anybody else off, with a straight face. And the world saw this and said, oh, so it is true. I just thought black people were putting on with this police brutality stuff, but I see what I see. So it is real. And if you do this, if you put your knee on this man's neck for 9 minutes and smirk with the world watching, what do you do when the cameras aren't on? And just like the world rallied around blacks because of what they saw in Selma, the world rallied around blacks because of what they saw with what happened to Floyd. For the same reason, it had the same effect. It basically gave a visualization to what a lot of the world perceived to be a tall tale. It gave the world concrete proof that what happens between blacks and police is absolutely real. And while there have been some, unfortunately, some of our white brothers and sisters who have been mocking what happened, who have been just basically belittling what happened, what they cannot and have not been able to do is look at that tape and find any justification for it. They'll tell you they don't give a damn. They'll tell you they're racist. They'll tell you they don't really care, but they can't find any justification. And that is the difference in what happened to Floyd. There is no justification for that. Not any. I don't care what you say he did. And then add to the insult to injury, other pieces of footage started coming out that showed he was handcuffed before he got in the car. Another piece of footage came out to show that they opened the door and started beating him up while he was in the car handcuffed. And the world basically saw this and said, wow, this is unreal. Especially when you've seen non-blacks wielding machetes at police officers and police officers trying to get out of the way. When you've seen guys butt naked doing kung fu on police officers and police officers trying to get out of the way. When you see a white assailant take a police officer's taser and chase the police officer down the street. When you see a white assailant take two police officers, wrestle them to the ground, take out one of them nightstick and start whooping them both over the head with it while he's got them both on the ground. And in none of these cases, the assailant gets shot or killed. It makes it more clear why blacks and others were so outraged at what they saw. To me, this is why Floyd's death and the video of him dying sparked the outrage it sparked. It didn't sit well with a lot of people that it happened with him when you have other people that it happened to. But it's not about who he was. It's about what happened to him and how it happened. And what the world got a chance to see that they never in this fashion have gotten to see, that created and sparked hopefully some kind of revolutionary change in this country. I see a lot of people are starting to already stand off and go back to their silliness in their social media and in their lives. But my prayer is that Floyd wasn't tormented and tortured and died a slow death for absolutely nothing. If you agree with me, let me know in the comments. If you don't agree with me, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to click the like, subscribe. I'm going to try to do more videos every day, every other day. Because I know a few of my friends want to really know what I have to say about some of this stuff. So check back with me later. I'll holler at y'all. Peace.